Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center. Now, one of the things I really enjoy about my job here at the Knife Center is I get to be part of the team that specs out our exclusives models. And with gift giving season right around the corner, now's the perfect time to take a look at some of the coolest things we've got on our shelves right now in our exclusives program. So let's check them out. I've got a bunch of cool stuff to show you today, and it's not just for other people too. Maybe you yourself deserve a little bit of a gift as well, for putting up with 2020. So let's go through. Let's check out a few things, and I'm going to start on the less expensive range of the spectrum with our Knife Center exclusive version of the Luna Lite from Real Steel, which we've got right now at our introductory price of just under 30 bucks. Now this is a slip joint knife. It's a non-locking design, but it's just a great, useful little design, no matter what kind of locking mechanism it does or doesn't have. Really nice little blade shape. It's D2 steel, so you got a good amount of edge retention, especially for the money. And the length is about 2 3/4 of an inch long, so it's under the 3-inch mark by just a little bit. Very easy to take just about anywhere. And like I said, I love the shape and I love the geometry. It's nice and thin to begin with, and then we've got a full flat grind. This is just ready to slice all day long. Now, as you can see, we've got a black coated finish on this blade. It's a smooth finish too, so it's not going to impede that slicing action. It's not rough, like a rough powder coat that can get a little gummy when you're running through certain materials. But the other thing that black coating is going to give you over other versions of the Luna Lite that are out there is a little more corrosion resistance, because D2 is not technically a stainless steel. It's kind of a semi-stainless in-between type of steel. So you get a little more protection there in addition to looking cool against the white G10 handles. This is kind of the Stormtrooper type of look, the white and black. Pocket clip here on the back too, if you didn't see that. So it's going to be easier to carry than some of those old school slip joints out there that may kind of float around in your pocket, banging into some things. This nice, subtle, deep carry black pocket clip is going to keep it where you want it to be, and it's not going to be too noticeable from outside the pants pocket either. Now, even without a lock, there is one kind of passive safety measure built into this knife, and that's right here on the ricasso of the blade. You can see there's some jimping right where your index finger would sit, and essentially there's about an index finger's width of steel right there. So if you do happen to be cutting something and the slip joint pops past its breaking point, then at least your index finger is going to be there a little bit to keep it from closing too far. So that's a nice little feature that they've included here. And then when you do go to close it, it's got sort of a 2/3, 1/3 stop as opposed to a true half stop like some slip joints have. That's another good safety measure, so you don't close the knife too fast. You can kind of pop it and then finish the rest of the way. And you can hear when I do that, it sounds real good too. It's easy to open. You don't need to use your fingernails because you've got a nice set of dual fullers there. Real easy to pinch just with your fingertips and open it up. Real cool knife here. Luna Lite from Real Steel. Now, if you like the vibes of that a little bit, but you want some more reach, we've got a couple more from Real Steel. This is the G5 Metamorph. There's a bunch of different colors out there. These two particular ones are exclusives to us here. We've got orange and black G10 handle options with black blades. And the blade steel on these is going to be a Sandvik 14C28N. So it's much more stainless than that D2, but you still do get that smooth black coating, more for aesthetics in this case. But this is one of my favorite steels, especially on the budget end of things, and these are decently affordable. These are both just under 50 bucks right now while we're filming this anyway. But the reason I like that steel is it takes a very fine edge very easily and holds it a decent amount of time as well. This is not just gonna cut a few things and you're gonna feel like you have to sharpen it. But I really like the fine carbide structure that this steel has, because you get that very fine, just scary sharp edge without too much effort. And then the blade shape itself is very useful, about 3.5 inches, but it's nice and narrow, so you can do some real fine radius cuts with this, fit into some tight corners, so to speak. Got a lot of piercing capability and a lot of pretty strong cutting capability too, because as the edge goes out towards the tip, there's just a little bit of a hint of rise, but not so much that it's going to make it easier for the tip of the knife to slip out when you're doing long cuts through something like cardboard or something like that. This knife also has a deep carry pocket clip, right side only, and we've got a hidden lanyard point there at the back as well, which is nice. We've also got a lock on this particular model. It is a liner lock with the nice inset liners there. But the other thing you'll notice is that it folds up nice and compact too. This is very narrow, very easy to carry, not taking up too much width in your pocket. And part of the reason for that, in addition to just they made it that way, is this is a front flipper design, so you don't have a flipper tab sticking out the back. So what that means is you're gonna be able to take your thumb and kind of flick or slow roll that blade open very easily with just one hand. All right, one more from real steel, and let's say, for example, you like the profile of that Metamorph, but you like the simplicity of the slip joint on that Luna. Well, we have the Gslip to take care of that need right here. It's in the Metamorph family. It's just a slightly different shape, and it is a slip joint version. Check that out. So this knife gets a bump up in a few materials as well, which is why it's a little more expensive, coming in just over 63 bucks right now. But the first thing, the most obvious thing you'll see is micarta handles. We got a natural micarta, looks very nice on both sides. There's a little bit of a matte finish to it, so it feels just a little bit grippier than the G10, which is a little bit smoother. And also, being micarta, if it happens to get wet, it tends to feel a little bit tackier while it's wet, but then it's gonna dry out just fine. So you've got more grip. You've also got an upgrade in the deep carry pocket clip here, which is a wire clip, so it's even more of a subtle look on the outside versus those black ones on the other two knives. And it's reversible on this knife too, so this is gonna be great for lefties or righties, which is great because there's no lock bias on this because, like I said, it is a slip joint. Got that same kind of 2/3, 1/3 half stop, you know what I mean, as well as those dual fullers to pinch that blade open. We've also got a crowned spine here and a crowned back spring going all the way down the length of the handle, and that terminates there at the end. You can see we've got a hidden lanyard attachment point on this knife as well. But in addition to those handle upgrades, we've also got a steel upgrade here, VG10 stainless, which is seen as a little bit more premium. Again, full flat grind, kind of like that Luna, starting with decently thin blade stock, so you've got some really good cutting geometry, nice stainless capabilities, and just an overall really cool and really classy looking knife. All right, we're gonna come back down underneath the $50 price point for a few more knives and talk about some Swiss Army knives, which is a great gift for pretty much anyone out there. Even non-knife people will appreciate a Swiss Army knife. They're just very cool things. And we've got a few exclusives of some certain models in their Alox aluminum handle scales, which normally come in silver. We've got a few here in red and black that you can only get these particular models in these colors from us. And the first one, coming in at just about 27 bucks, is the Bantam, which I am a really big fan of this particular knife because it's only got 2 implements in it and they cover a lot of ground with them, but as a result, just look how thin that particular knife is, only a couple millimeters thick. You really slip this just about anywhere, works really well in the 5th jeans pocket, that watch pocket that is in a lot of men's jeans out there. But really, I'm sure you can imagine quite a few places you might be able to stash this little knife. Now we'll open the blade there, and it comes in just under that 2.5 inch mark, so very nice little size for a small pocket knife like this. Simpler stainless steel, it's gonna be pretty easy to sharpen, won't hold an edge super long, but it is gonna be very easy to maintain, and some excellent cutting geometry on this knife as well, thanks to very thin blade stock and that full flat grind. It's just gonna slice. It's not gonna get in your way when you're trying to cut. Then on the other side of this knife, we've got the combo tool, which does a couple of things, as you might imagine from a name like combo tool. You may be familiar with a lot of Swiss Army knives will have a can opener and a bottle opener, 2 separate implements. This one can actually pull off both of those tasks. And I was a little skeptical the first time I tried one of these, whether it really could, but yes, it absolutely can do both of those things. And you've still got the little bit of the little wire stripper there at the base, as well as the tip that can be used as a flathead screwdriver. It even locks, or it doesn't lock, but it even has a very snappy half stop. Not so much for safety in this case, because you don't have to worry about an edge, but you can actually, for certain things that may be a little bit stubborn, obviously there's a limit to how much torque you could put on this, but you do get a little more leverage onto a stubborn screw head if you really need to pop something loose. And then it just makes a really satisfying noise when you close it as well. But that is the Swiss Army Bantam from Victorinox. We've also got the Pioneer X in not just exclusive red color, but we've also got exclusive black color on this particular model. Both of them really nice, but again, the red especially. I mean, the silver models out there certainly look fine. They look really good, actually. but there's just something about a red Swiss Army knife that is iconic, and the fact that you can get these particular models with the stronger aluminum scales. They are more durable than the Celador or plastic red Swiss Army knives, but you can get that strong aluminum in this vibrant red. We're just thrilled to have these as part of our lineup. Now the red model comes in at $45, the black model at about $50, and what you need to know about this knife, what makes it special, it's a little bit larger than that Bantam, but the original Pioneer, which comes, I'm going to fold out the set of tools that has, is essentially, you can kind of draw a direct link from this knife back to the original Swiss Army knife in the, the late 1800s, had essentially this set of tools. They looked a little bit different back in the day, but these are the modern incarnations of that original Swiss Army knife. You've got your main blade, comes in about 2 3/4 of an inch, a little bit longer than that Bantam, but same great characteristics to it. You've also got the separate can opener over here and bottle opener on this side with 2 different sizes of screwdrivers on their tips and that wire stripper. And then you've got a nice awl over here. It can be used to punch holes in things. It'll sharpen up real nice so you can maintain it and keep it sharp over time. Works well as a scraper also. That was the kind of the original set of tools. Again, looks a little bit different back in the day, but the Pioneer X packs all those things in and adds one extra tool. Make sure I'm opening it from the right side. The ever so handy pair of scissors, which makes this, I mean, it's just a great upgrade. And the fact that it's still just 45 bucks is quite nice. These are also great for EDC. Both of these are great for EDC. Obviously, you got a little more capability there. But let's talk about another model as well that is going to be a good option for hikers, campers, bushcrafters, that sort of folk. Will really appreciate the new Farmer X in our exclusive red color. These come in at about 60 bucks right now, and essentially what you get here, you get all the tools that Pioneer X had, plus one other additional on top of that, and that is a small wood saw, which works really great. In terms of small multi-tool saws, Victorinox, and to maybe slightly lesser extent Leatherman, but the 2 of them with this saw included there is really kind of the one to beat in terms of utility until you get into some like larger tools, you know what I mean. But they work really well for the outdoorsman out there. The spine of this can even be used as a striker for a fire steel. The awl can also be used for that, but you might want to save the edge on there. So the fact that you've got a nice crisp spot there to do some scraping, it's more utility than just the saw cutting capability. And again, in the outdoors, that red aluminum handle is, or the aluminum construction, whatever color it is gonna hold up more than a red Celador handled Swiss Army knife will. Of course, all the farmers do have aluminum. You're not gonna find a version of those in Celador, but you take my meaning. These are just solid, robust little tools. All right, while we're talking about kind of outdoor activities, I've got a version of the SOG Aegis AT here that is going to be a great option for folks who like to camp, hunt, or just generally go about in the outdoors and want to take a good folding knife with them. And this knife is actually, when we're filming this right now, is on sale for about 70 bucks. Now this blaze orange handle you can only get here at the KnifeCenter, and that is a great color for this type of outdoor oriented blade. There's plenty of length as well, even for folks with slightly larger than average hands like myself. There's plenty of length there to grab onto. Even if I was wearing a set of heavier work gloves, which I certainly recommend if you're really putting a folding knife to use in the outdoors, I'm still gonna have plenty of length here. Even if my finger goes on top of this, this lanyard point here, it doesn't actually get in the way in use. Now the advantage, of course, of having all that handle real estate is you're going to have a very secure hold and a very strong, you can put a lot of strong power, I should say, behind the blade itself, which is D2, a bit over 3 inches, about 3 1/8. And you've got a really good slicing geometry here. It's kind of a theme a little bit. I like to show people things with good cutting geometry, what can I say? Decently thin blade stock. It's not super thick. It's nice and wide with a full flat grind, which means the geometry here is going to be very good. Again, it's a knife that's not going to get in its own way when going to cut some things. Plus that drop point shape, like I said, useful for hunters. You've got plenty of belly there. If you do like to take a folding knife hunting, this could be a good option for you. Just make sure you keep it clean because this is an assisted opening knife as well. So there's a little bit more going on underneath the hood to take care of. but it's also going to work for campers, bushcrafters. If you don't mind a flat ground knife for your wood carving, it's going to be great for that sort of thing. Now, of course, I mentioned assisted opening here. And we've also got SOG's XR lock, which is a crossbar lock design. You've got that bar going across both sides of the tang. Not only is that a strong locking mechanism, but it also makes the knife fully ambidextrous, which is very nice. You can access the lock from either side. You've got a deep carry pocket clip, which is reversible. And then you've got a safety as well that's going to lock the blade in the closed position, mounted ambidextrously on the spine as well. Or mounted for ambidextrous use on the spine as well. With that engaged, you're not going to be able to open that blade. Click the safety, blade pops open very easily. And again, this little bit sticking up is not enough to get in the way when you're actually using the knife. And it's just, especially for the price, even at our regular price of 85 bucks, it's a very satisfying knife to really put through its paces. All right, let's say you or the person you're buying for is a little less of an outdoorsman and maybe more of a gentleman. Got a couple of cool knives here, new versions of the CJRB Ria to show you, which is just a fantastically classy and satisfying little knife to utilize. Got two versions here. We've got a Pakkawood version for about 55 bucks, decently affordable there, and a marbled carbon fiber version for a little bit more. It's about 75 right now. So not astronomical, still both pretty decently affordable, I would say, in the grand scheme of things. But the carbon fiber version, both of them really do, but the carbon fiber version looks great. You've got a nice shimmer as you move things around. There is a little bit of a pattern milled into the top, so you've got a very fine texture there. Gives you a little bit more grip, and that'll also help you notice the contour to the handle scales themselves. You've got a little bit of radius, so it's not chunky in the hand. Feels very good. And then here on the back, we've actually got a milled titanium pocket clip, which is an upgrade over the standard versions of this knife. It just looks very nice. Open back to construction on this knife is going to make it very easy to keep clean. And you can see here there's a post here with a lanyard or a hole drilled through that can be used for a lanyard attachment right there. So you can add a bead or accessorize if you wish. Now the blade steel here is what's really impressive, especially considering this knife starts here just over 50 bucks. RPM 9 powder metallurgy steel, which CJRB and ArtisanCutlery, their parent company, came up with as a budget powder steel. And what they've done with this, they've essentially created a steel that's going to get you the edge retention of D2, so you've got some good capability there, but it's going to be easier to sharpen, and it's also going to be stainless, like truly stainless, unlike D2, which is, as I said, a semi-stainless. So it's really impressive they've been able to pull that off. I've been testing one of their earlier prototypes of this steel for a while, and I've just been extremely happy with it. Full flat grind on this knife as well, a little bit thicker, so it's not quite as slicey as some of these other designs, but it's still not gonna trip over itself when you go to do some good cutting. So overall, a pretty good design, even on the face of it, but it's one of those kind of intangible things about this knife that is really a thing that sets this knife apart. It does have a liner lock, as you can see, but that thing that I'm talking about is the action. No flipper, this is a thumb stud only knife, but we have ball bearings in the pivot, and they've arranged the thumb stud just so, and the action feels assisted, but you don't have that resistance of the spring when you're closing the knife. It is extremely satisfying to flick open. Doesn't matter the price of any knife, this is right up there with its excellent feel, and that's carried through to pretty much every one I have ever pulled out of the box, from all the way from the less expensive versions that come with the simpler materials up to these exclusives right here. Truly, truly special and understated little knives. They really they show you what they're worth, not through how flashy they are, but just from how good they feel in the hand. So now with the Pakkawood version of this knife, it's actually the perfect transition to our next set of classy knives, and those are our Spyderco exclusive family, all with Pakkawood handle scales and a laminated HAP 40 blade. Got the Dragonfly here, which is going to be great for pretty much anyone out here. It's a good size, 2.5-inch blade, fully ambidextrous with its opening and its mid-mounted lockback with the David Boyd dent, as well as a deep carry, or not so necessarily deep carry on this particular design, but you've got that subtle wire carry clip that is reversible to either side. Now, the cool thing about the Dragonfly, of course, is you've got a full 4-fingered grip, even if your hands are on the bigger side, but it folds up nice and small, and that's thanks to that finger choil there that really lets you use part of the blade to grip onto and put that smaller sub 2.5 inch blade to some heavier work. Now, as for the blade itself, that HAP 40 steel at the core of this laminated blade is a powder metallurgy steel with some good edge retention, but it's not stainless. So it will patina a little bit over time, and that actually is going to look really good against the Pakkawood handles. Pakkawood, of course, is a man-made material that is made from actual wood, but it's stabilized essentially in a way that's going to help it resist cracking or warping over time, shrinkage, that sort of thing. So it's going to be more stable long-term than a natural wood could be, but you still get the nice look of natural wood. You even get some variation from knife to knife as well. This particular Delica, I think, looks really cool. It's got a few darker stripes going on. Just creates a more striking look, but you still have kind of that classic vibe. And really, this whole line really does marry the classic and modern vibes into kind of their own thing. There's not much else out there like it, especially so with the really big guy, the Police 4 model. Now, this knife, along with the Delica and the Endura, has a standard steel pocket clip, not the wire clip. And this particular one doesn't have the David Boyd dent, but what it does have is a nice finger choil here on the front. Not so much so you can fold it up smaller, like in the case of that Dragonfly, but more because in this case, the blade here is almost 4 inches long. So they give you that choil so you can choke up and use that length a little more delicately or a little more precisely on some of the smaller cuts you might be doing, or you can choke back and just power through some bigger tasks. Now, the Police 4, of course, is a little bit different than the older Police models. That choil is just the first change they made, but they've made the blade slicier than ever before. You've got a good sweep going on. You get a natural distal taper on pretty much all of these knives because of the way they grind their blades, or the blades on these particular designs anyway. So it gets narrower or thinner out there near the tip for even more efficiency. Now, if you're not quite sure how large that Police model is, I'll hold the Endura up on top, which is already a fairly big knife, and you can really see that that Police model is leaving nothing on the table. It's just a lot of blade and a lot of fun. Now, the Police 4 comes in at about $224, but if that's too much, either too much blade or too much money for you, the series starts with the Ladybug model coming in at about $78, and this one kind of stands on its own a little bit, almost apart from the rest of these, because there's no pocket clip at all on this. This is a straight up keychain or 5th jean pocket knife, but same materials overall. You've got the Pakkawood, you've got the laminated HAP 40 blade. They're just really cool. And even though it's a smaller knife and you only have about a 2.5 finger grip, they're shaped just enough so that you are gonna have a pretty decent hold on it. I wouldn't recommend this as your go-to heavy working folder, but if you had to press it into some slightly bigger cuts, at least it's not gonna be something that'll slip out of your hand. All right, next up, I've got a couple knives that are still gentlemanly, but also a little bit more, they have a little bit more of a high-tech feel to them. And I'll show you the Pakkawood one first, as well as marbled carbon fiber. Just like those CJRBs, this is a knife from ArtisanCutlery. Like I said, that's their parent company. And we just got these in at the same time as these Rias, hence the same material selection right here for the time being. But this is the small Archaeo, and this is a non-locking knife as well. It's not a slip joint though. These actually have a detent bar on the inside that interfaces with the blade a little bit. So it makes a very easy opening and closing knife without a slip joint. Slip joints can sometimes be a little bit stiffer. None of these were, but one thing you can do with this type of mechanism you can't do with a slip joint is you can actually make it a flipper. So that blade flips open very nicely. But apart from just that cool factor, and there are a few more things inherent to that I'll get to in a minute, again, just a classy knife. Nice narrow profile, looks good in the Pakkawood here with the gold accents on the pivot collar as well as the pocket clip and the back spacer there. Really, really classy look. And then still a classy look, but verging into that high-tech feel a little bit more is the marbled carbon fiber version with its blue accents. Also classy looking and especially good contrast with the marbled carbon fiber are the Damascus steel blades on these knives, which is a VG10 based Damascus, so you're not giving up so much in performance to attain the good looks of that Damascus. It's a good balance. in terms of those two kind of different goals of any knife blade steel. And it's a great pattern for piercing, nice for day-to-day stuff. You can do some fairly powerful cuts, again, especially for a non-locking knife. Now, if you're concerned about the safety of a knife like this, just like the real steel that I showed you first, there are some passive as well as some active safety measures here. Now, the flipper there, the thing that flipper tab is going to do for you is, again, provide a nice spot to, or a nice place where if the blade were to pop open during use, your finger is going to prevent it from closing further. Really appreciate having that. And then further than that, a nice steel pin which can be inserted into the side and fix that blade into place so it doesn't have any chance of budging unless you were to pull that out. But why would you do that if you just put it in? Now you can also use that pin to lock the knife when it's in the closed position as well, so it won't open accidentally. And speaking of closing, that brings me to kind of the other thing where this style of detent, or this style of detent knife really shines, is you can flick it closed as well. And there's just something really, really satisfying, even more so than some titanium frame lock flippers out there, of being able to flick, 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 open, close, over and over. And it's definitely not going to annoy the people around you, and it's going to give you a lot of satisfaction. Oh, I didn't mention prices on these. $100, or yeah, just under 100 for the Pakkawood version, and about $120 for the marbled carbon fiber. Now, if you're buying for someone, like I said, yourself or someone else, who really appreciates just high-tech feeling things, this next one is probably for you or for them. It's our exclusive versions of the Kershaw Bareknuckle folder. Made in the USA, these come in at $120, and we've got two different versions. Both of these come with a CPM 20 CV, very premium blade steel on each of them, so you've got a lot of performance for your dollar as well. And we've got the earth brown color on the bottom here and the champagne gold at the top. So that's the Bareknuckle champ, essentially, for that champagne version. But these are really cool knives. As I said, they have a real high-tech look to them, very flowing and modern. Really nice blade shape. I really enjoy it. You can get some powerful cuts with the modified Wharncliffe here. Good cutting geometry as well with the high flat grind. And the thing that really makes it special is the sub frame lock. Now, essentially what this does is they take the lock bar, or what would be the lock bar on a standard frame lock, cut it out, and they can mount it to whatever material they wish here at the back. And what that lets them do in this case, it lets them bring that cool aluminum color onto the back, but it lets them have as big a contact patch with the tang of the blade as a full-on frame lock would as well. So you still get some good security from that lock. We've also got a deep carry pocket clip on this knife that is reversible, so you'll be able to carry it nice and easy, nice and deep. A little bit larger in the pocket, but certainly not as large as that police model. But definitely not hard to carry at all. KVT bearings are in the pivot of this knife. You've got really resoundingly good action on these. Sometimes they may take a little bit of breaking in. This knife has a little bit of a reputation of being a little bit stiff at first, but they do tend to break in if they are. But they've been getting better about that. Most of the ones I've held lately, right out of the box every time. That just feels very, very good. But it's a pattern I really appreciate overall. 3.5 inches of 20 CV for $120. If that doesn't sell this knife to the knife people out there that know what they're looking at, I don't know what else will. I mean, it's a phenomenal bargain in terms of the performance you're gonna get for the money. Yes, there are cheaper knives on this table, but I doubt you're gonna find better edge retention for this kind of money on this table or in a lot of other knives across the board. Just very cool, Kershaw Bareknuckle. All right, that's all I've got to show you today from our KnifeCenter exclusives collection. But we've got even more on the site that didn't make it into this video, so we're gonna make sure to leave a link to our exclusives section on our website down there in the details of this video. In the meantime, keep looking out there. We've got new stuff showing up all the time. And like I said, I'm part of the team that builds some of these things out, and we've got some really cool stuff upcoming as well, even before the end of the year, that I think you guys are gonna want to see. So keep your eyes peeled there. And if you want to get your hands on any of these knives, like I said, we'll leave links in the description. And while you're over there at theknifecenter.com, make sure you sign up for our Knife Rewards program, because if you're going to buy one of these knives, either for yourself or someone else, you might as well earn some free money for yourself to spend on your next knife. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center, signing off. See you next time.